These are the 12 core factors that drive compulsive behavior, and that when you understand these, but more importantly, you understand where you are with those, you will have some clarity on what is driving this behavior in the first place. The need to numb out, the want to go past 1 or 2. And it's relevant whether you were talking about alcohol or sugar or caffeine or porn or gambling or social media or work, the most acceptable addiction there is out there. So let's move on. What drives compulsive behavior? The next core driver is stress. Are you stressed? Do you have stress? It's such a core driver of compulsive behavior. The thing about stress is we're not going to be able to eliminate stress from your life. We're not going to ask you to go and spend the rest of your life meditating in a cave like the llamas. That's not realistic. We live in an incredibly stressful environment. We live in an incredibly stressful society. So we have to find ways to mitigate that stress. In our Complete Control program, we use a device to help people understand their stress so they can see on their central nervous system what minute by minute what's going on. Are you in fight or flight or recovery? You can see some of this stuff in some of the wearables. We also use an aura ring and things like that to help people understand. But what you have to understand is some really simple math. A stressed out central nervous system that does not get any recovery will always require numbing at the end of the day. And if the numbing is not alcohol and you manage to use willpower or something else like that to abstain from alcohol, it will be something else. You'll be reaching for the cake, the Netflix, to switch off at the end of the day, something else. Understanding that we have to go in search of calm. I know in all the programs I rabbit on forever about meditation because it is so key. But if you think about during your day, and I talk about a perfect example, imagine for a second you have a very busy meeting which you come out of. And for instance, maybe you had a couple of glasses of wine last night. So already those will significantly impact your central nervous system the next day. You won't get the deep sleep because of the amount of, even a small amount of alcohol disrupts deep sleep. So whether you realize it or not, you wake up a bit more tired, you wake up a bit more sluggish. And so the central nervous system is already working hard. Again, we show people that really when you drink alcohol, it's like giving yourself the flu, right? Your body is fighting hard to process this poison, to get this out of your system as quickly as possible because it's completely caustic. It is a poison to the body and central nervous system. That's very powerful. Recognizing that, you come into this meeting a little bit tired from having a couple of drinks last night and think, you know what, I'm going to go and have a coffee. Coffee is another really compounding tool to your central nervous system, pushing out that ability for you to get recovery. So again, you spend the afternoon not getting any recovery in the day, and the foregone conclusion is there. There you are at the end of the day feeling like you need to take the edge off again. There you are at the end of the day feeling, oh God, I need a drink, I need to unwind, I need to watch Netflix. So we have to go in search of mitigating that. And I think that's where some really good tools come in place, like meditation, breath work, getting out. Breath work is very powerful. Things like NSDR protocols, again, which we teach. That's Professor Andrew Huberman, wonderful podcast to listen to, and show you some simple breathing techniques which have been scientifically proven to be the fastest way to bring your central nervous system back into parasympathetic. And that's what we have to do. We have to find ways as often as we can to get ourselves back into parasympathetic. So stress, a major causer of compulsive behavior, but not just about understanding your stress or how stressed you are. You're going to go through life some period where stress is. Understanding more that of these 12 factors, if all of them are in a bad state, you're going to really struggle. You're going to want to drink and drink often. If sometimes stress is really out of factor, then let's make sure the others are in balance. Let's make sure we've got the work done in other areas because we know we go through these stress situations. And then most importantly, let's make sure that we've got the tools to deal with stress. Let's make sure that we're creating those good habits to handle it. Relationships. I'm sure this goes without saying, but let's talk about your closest 3 to 5, depending on how big your family is more, but the closest relationships, the people you're closest to. If those relationships are bent out of shape or broken, then you will always desire numbing. Understanding that relationships is a core driver, then we need to do the work in order to mitigate that. You know, some people come onto the program or some people come and, relationships sometimes break down and there's not much you can do about that. Yes, what you can do is change your perception and how you feel and create yourself more boundaries around it so it's less of a driver at the time. And I think that's usually where people need support. Relationships is really key. Getting into a place where these relationships are mitigated, or at least relationships are more harmonious, is going to set you up to be in that place where the desire for compulsive behavior is less. There's so much to do here. You know, when I ask people sometimes the basics, like, what's your partner's love language? And they're like, what are you talking about? It just tells me one thing. I'm like, it means that you haven't even started reading the beginner books. You know, if I was to say to somebody, Think and Grow Rich, is it a good book? Or Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The majority of people would go, yeah, you know, certainly business leaders, execs, people like that, mostly would go, yeah, good books, because they understand the concept of, in order to be successful in work or build a business or be successful, I have to study this stuff and understand. Well, why don't you do that in your marriage? Like, why don't you do that in your relationship? Why are you not investing in the business of your closest relationships? These are the things that I encourage you to start talking to your partner in their love language and watch massive change happen. It's something so simple. And this is what I was going to say at the end. I'll repeat it now. Is so often people come in and they say, Rory, this is great. I love all this stuff. This is so good. But you're talking about all of these things and they're way up here. I'm nowhere near that. I'm down here where my relationship's in the shit and I'm drinking too much and blah, 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 blah. And what I say every time is, look, change doesn't come like, oh, I'm at the bottom of Everest and I need to get up to the top and we have this massive, great big journey to come. It's actually much more simple than that, because when you start applying, right, some simple tools and techniques, some simple things, it's actually transformational for it. The perfect example is a relationship, right, where normally it's a communication breakdown and the communication is broken down now. So now all you are in is just fighting over crap. Every time you say something, I'm going to argue. Every time you something, it's got so petty and absolute bullshit. But when you crumble away from all the crap, inside there's just somebody hurting and another person hurting, and they're both not getting something what they need, and they're not communicating properly to each other. And that when you get the communication going and you're like, and I still love you and we both want a future together and we know what that is, harmony goes. And then instead of it being like, oh my God, I'm slogging up the hill to Everest, it's actually like, hey, let's walk together on this wonderful journey of transformation because we've now started to figure some of this out. So that's how change and transformation happens. It feels like it's got so far to go, and that's what keeps us stuck. But actually, with the right tools and the right techniques, it's a much faster change. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. Connection. Connection is such a big one because this is like our connection to society around us. And this is how we interact with the wider group, our community, the people around us. The thing about drinking is it's so ingrained in society that so much of it now is linked subconsciously to your identity, your belief about yourself. We've spent decades becoming a certain type of drinker, becoming a certain brand. And you're like, oh, well, I'm this, I'm that. And people say I'm this, a whiskey drinker, a vodka drinker, a fast drinker, a short drinker, a party guy, a non-party guy, you know, sit out drinking all wine all evening person, whatever it is. And so society has these expectations about us. And then when we try to change our relationship with alcohol, what we do is go, do you know what, guys, I've had enough of the way you're behaving. I'm going to go over here and be different like this. Well, our innate, very tribal way of being says that when we left the tribe, we died. We got eaten by that saber-toothed tiger. So everything about you is saying, well, hang on a minute, I'm trying to stop drinking, which is boring, dull, you know, it's a challenge, I don't like it. And it's nothing like my whole tribe over here. And I'm trying to be somebody weird. And they're saying, what's wrong with you? Come back, have a drink, you know, don't leave the tribe. It's unsafe over there. And we become more disconnected. And so many people are out there trying to do this. And then they're like, well, unless you're a sociopath, you can't be disconnected. What happens is we find the only way we have a sense of connection to ourselves and to others in society around us is to return back to the fold. And this is where we feel connected. Okay, I'm back with the tribe again. I feel good. I'm drinking again, but it's not really what you want. So this is why it's so key. It's so critical for you to build connections who are living how you want to live. The next level of connection for people is, you know, hey, face to face, talking on video, talking in people. The connection aspect goes up hundreds of times when you're sitting talking with people on a Zoom call. And then if you can get together in real person, like meet some people like you who are trying to live like you locally and things like that, that is very powerful. It's like building your community that's living differently. Some of the things in here, so as an example, Jen and I love the CrossFit crew we have out here. And we went out recently for a bowling night for the CrossFit crew. And because they're all so health conscious, fit, looking after their people, whatever, it was still an evening job, but not a single person was drinking alcohol. And it was great because we were socializing, we're having fun, we're bowling, there's lots of laughter, but nobody really wants to drink alcohol. And so it's easy for us, that sense of belonging, we're fully included. included, we're not discluded, we're totally connected, and yet alcohol's just not a part of it. And I know it might feel like, oh God, I just don't have anything like that around here, but I think go in search of the hobbies. Go in search of the people who are looking for dopamine in a healthy way. Also, that's going to be healthy for you, right? You know, is it climbing on a Friday night? Is it some kind of club, mountain biking in the morning on Saturdays, where you're feeling this connection with people, but it isn't centralized around alcohol? Go in search of that. It's such a big element of what drives our behavior.
If you'd like to keep going, then I can help. Check out the link below and I'll see you soon.